She is a National Academy of Sports Medicine certified personal trainer, a corrective exercise specialist from the NASM, the Health Sciences Academy certified nutritional therapist, a Goju Karate black belt, and a master's degree in psychology and pursuing master's degree in kinesiology. She is a teaching professional, speaker, author, and coach. Her passion is to help people become the best version of self. She uses a holistic, dynamic approach and brings 15 plus combined years of experience in psychology, nutrition, movement, and martial arts to her style. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing Shay Vasudeva.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Shay the coach here. More than just checking in. And so here's what's going on. Some of you have been watching me for a time, and I'm really grateful for that. But today we have a treat for you because most of my check-ins, most of my videos so far have been a few minutes. And I am very fortunate and thankful to have the opportunity to speak for a little bit longer. And Sensei here will be asking me some questions, and I'll do my best to answer them. So without further ado, here's some questions.
Hey Shay, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for taking your time and joining our show. Shay, yes, I can see that you have a lot of achievements and qualification in different areas. One of the things that let me start with, so I'll go step by step. The first thing that I would like to ask you, you are a National Academy Sports Medicine certified personal trainer. What is that? What does that mean? And how is that going to help people?
Okay, so basically what that means is National Academy of Sports Medicine is just one of the credentialing bodies where if you want to train people, you go through a course and you learn the sciences and you learn like special considerations and you learn the techniques. Okay. And it's also a network and they'll have an annual conference, and when you want to go and enhance and work, maybe specialize in an area, network or that sort of thing, you reach out to some colleagues, you go to a conference, and you stay almost abreast of the latest and greatest in the industry. And so I went with NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine, because they have a very specific model. Okay, so they have a way of progressing people in their goals, right? So it's really great to sit and think, you know, I have this goal, this goal, this goal. Okay, perfect. Goals are great. But how are we going to get you from point A to point B? So they have very specific methods to help and also track people from reaching their fitness goals. And then I'm also into motivation. And so when you have a goal and you have a way to objectively track things, that is very motivational. So I'm a really big fan of NASM and their model and their networking opportunities.
Wow. So who sets the goal? Is it the coach who sets the goal, or is it the athletes who set the goal, or is your customer, if I may use the word customer or client, who are they? Are they corporates or they are individuals like me?
Well, so that's a great question. So your question is who sets the goal and who are my clients?
Exactly.
So I use a So I use a dynamic approach and we set the goals together, right? So I always say that one size doesn't fit all, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't go in and just hand people a protocol. If that's the case, then that's really not, then it's not personal training, correct? So that's, so with the NASM, it's called the OPT, Optimum Performance Training Model. We cut that. I don't want to get too technical. So, but with NASM and their model, it creates almost like a skeleton, right? So each human person will have a skeleton, but every person has substance inside that skeleton, and that makes up their body, that makes them really unique, right? Absolutely. And some people may have an injury to their ankle or an injury to their wrist or their I hate almost using the word, but clinically obese, which is a body mass index of over 30.
Yep.
And so the clients that I have
Mm-hmm.
are usually people with injuries to their skeleton,
Mm-hmm.
and they really want to get back into personal training.
Mm-hmm.
And they really want to get into fitness.
Okay.
And so I don't want to kind of advance what your questioning is, but I've been able to enhance my personal training certification with a specialty through the National Academy of Sports Medicine called corrective exercise. And so that's my next credential. And
Absolutely.
you know, I'm jumping to it a little bit because you had asked me why NASM and why personal training.
Yep.
And who my specific clients are.
Yep.
So they are folks who maybe had an injury as a teenager, and now 20 years later pass, and their parents, or 30 or 40 years pass, and their grandparents. And because of this injury, they took a left turn in their life. And now they have this deep motivation to be present for their family. And so what we do is we look at muscle imbalances that occurred from the initial injury, but that have built over the years, right? So that's corrective exercise, where we look at muscles that are overactive and muscles that are underactive.
Okay.
Another one of my clients would be seated desk job people. So yes, corporates, but not necessarily corporates. But you know, we live more and more in a seated culture.
Yep.
And because we live in a seated culture, our hips get tight. Or I'm guilty of it too. Eventually your shoulders slink and then your head moves forward. So with corrective exercise, I'm actually trained to look at the body at the ankle, knees, hips, shoulder, and neck, which is NASM's 5 kinetic checkpoints, the 5 checkpoints of the body. And then I'm trained to look at which muscles are overactive. So for example, if someone comes in and they're doing one of these, probably they've had a seated desk job and they've been on the phone. Right? So it's very easy to say, just drop your shoulder, but that shoulder has muscle memory. So what we do is we inhibit or calm down the overactive muscles that are creating this situation. And then we train the muscles that are more quiet, that haven't been used because of this situation. And then the posture improves. And because of that, people, you know, you may have a neck ache or chronic headache or something of that nature. And then all of a sudden, the pain level decreases and you're more present for your job. You're more present for life, and you're more present, just your zest for life just explodes. And so that's what I really like to do is the personal training, yes, but one level deeper, or a few levels deeper even, is the corrective exercise. As you can tell, I get very, very, very passionate about it.
I would like to take you to a scenario where a senior executive of a company or organization who came back to you, maybe you have trained or coached their team, or maybe the executive himself, and came back to you and said, just because of your exercise, or just because the way that you treated today, our business has grown up.
Wow.
Did it ever happen to you?
Well, yes, actually.
Would you like to share that with us? Yes.
Yeah, sure. So I had someone who was struggling with scoliosis, right?
Okay.
And the other thing I have to say is that this, by no means, being a corrective exercise specialist, I'm not saying this is a cure or replaces your, medical care.
Sure.
But this woman had been struggling with scoliosis and had medical clearance to come work with me. And she was an entrepreneur. And she was consistently in pain with the scoliosis. And as entrepreneurs, we know we wear many hats, right? So even though she worked with people, she was always on the phone, computers, doing research, and it just hurt her back to sit even, and she's in the helping fitness, nutrition industry. So basically what we did is I did the assessment again at the ankles, knees, hips, shoulders, and necks, the neck, the 5 kinetic checkpoints. And we targeted those overactive muscles and underactive muscles and built a training protocol for her together dynamically. And then in the matter of 90 days, she actually started sitting up taller. And so she said she had gained about 1/2 inch on her height, which pleased her husband, that was really nice. But then as a side effect, a positive side effect, she was able to smile more and focus more, and that zest for life. She already had it, but it's very hard to maintain and contain it through an entire day, when by the end of the day, you're kind of literally, shrinking in your seat. So she's able to stand up. And so now her business has grown exponentially. Her family life has improved, and she's a much happier woman.
Wow. That's great. That's great. I can see that you help the best version of self.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So that response is about as open-ended as your question. I could ask you that question and you would have your own answer. And then you could ask me that question. So that's what's the beauty of that question, is I get to sit down before I bring out a dumbbell, before I bring out a TheraBand, before I discuss any techniques or methods or kinetic checkpoints or any of that. I sort of do a discovery session with clients or potential clients and ask them what it means to you. So it's really open to interpretation. To me, as we call it a karateka, right? A karate person, someone who's been training for as long as me, is my sensei always says to do better today than I did yesterday, right? So it's kind of a very vague answer, but like I said, it's such an open-ended question. The best version of me is, I have my personal goals, I have my fitness goals, and I have my professional goals, right? And so every individual, I think, it benefits people to have these goals. And so if someone comes in and they don't have these goals, then we'll start there. Like I said, before I bring in the equipment and the techniques, right? So I talk about the why and I talk about the how. And if a person is sort of struggling to grasp their why, I will spend time to help bring that up, bring it to surface for them. Because if your why is bigger than your how, then the how happens. Right? If we just go how, and you have a day where you struggle, or if a client struggles, it's just very easy to shrink down again. But if that why is robust, and we revisit that why throughout the process, and we put it somewhere where we can see it, and where it internalizes, then we are starting to move into motion. So that's a beautiful question. Yeah.
Well, thank you. There's a book which says "Start with Why." Have you read that book?
No, I haven't. Who authored it?
Simon Sinek.
Oh, I've heard of, I've definitely heard of Simon Sinek, and I've watched many of his TED Talks. So we'll put that on the list. Definitely. Thank you for sharing that. Sure. Yes.
Great. Now, moving from a sports medicine certified personal trainer, let me take you to something called the karate.
Okay, sure.
Tell me, what is all about karate? When did you start? Because you use the word sensei right now. So how did you start that? And what was the reason?
How did I start?
And what was the reason? Yeah.
The reason, right. So, okay, so this is a little bit more personal. With karate, I started as a kid. I was muy poquito. I'm not Spanish, but sometimes I've studied a lot of Spanish. It comes out. So the point is, it started as a youth, and basically we lived in a rather rough neighborhood, and I am petite. There's no hiding that, and I always tell people I feel like I never had my growth spurt physically, so I sort of made up for it with things like karate and emotionally and spiritually and that sort of thing. And so it really helped save me in a lot of precarious situations. And so I continued on for a really long time, and now I've been doing it 17 plus years. So it's, originally I started for physique and self-confidence and safety. And then as I continued to train, my reasons just deepened, and I just fell in love. So for example, the type of karate that I do is Okinawan Gojuru. And it comes from Okinawa, which is an island off of the coast of Japan. And one of the proverbs there is fall down 7, get up 8, right? And so I can't even tell you how many times I've used that proverb. Case in point, right now, I have an ankle sprain, and it's no secret. And people have been very supportive. And for example, you know, my senseis, I've been really blessed. They've always said anyone can be taught how to punch and anyone can be taught how to block, but you need to start, you know, at some point to apply it to other areas of life. And that kind of builds a bridge with fitness. It's the same thing. You build that mentality of accomplishing things, and you carry it into other areas of your life that you're passionate about. So recently I had the opportunity to speak in Spain and do a keynote there. And by about, it was a very wonderful opportunity. And, you know, by about day one of the conference, my ankle had flared up. It was a previous injury that we had thought that I had successfully rehabbed through, you know, basically it was the I think it was the turbulence, you know, and the suitcases and all of these things. So I guess I'm meandering here, but I want to focus myself on 2 points here. The first point is that I was able to basically regroup and do my keynote talks on both days. And I did it because of that proverb, which was fall down 7, get up 8. Now I literally, you know, could not bear weight on my foot. So it was this delicate balance of doing what I professionally was there to do, and then also doing some self-care by being gracious and talking to the conference organizers and saying, look, I am in so much pain. Can we please organize me a trip to the hospital? And so I got wonderful treatment at the hospital in Spain. Now I could have started to feel bad for myself, and it could have just made for a miserable time. But instead I sat in the seat of fall down 7, get up 8, and Shay the learner almost, and how can I grow from this? So as someone who's so passionate about health, I got excited to see how the health system in another country works. Rather than necessarily like reading or learning about it, I got firsthand experience, and it was a wonderful, wonderful treatment. I can't say, oh, it was a wonderful experience. I went to Spain and went to the hospital, but it was a wonderful, you know, growth opportunity. The second thing was, and so sometimes, you know, I drift. So we were talking, the second thing is I always tell people, you know, in America, I don't know if you're familiar with this, as you grow up as a kid, there's this thing like circle, circle, dot, dot, now I got my cootie shot. Have you heard of that? This is the things that we do. So I always tell people like circle, circle, dot, dot, now I have my education shot, right? I don't ever want to get to the point where I'm not teachable, right? So the question could be, well, we rehab the ankle, we use corrective exercise. So why didn't it work? Well, there's research, and I'm going to stay away from the technicalities, but you know, usually chances are once you've done something like sprain an ankle, the chance of a re-injury is really, really high because we're on our feet and we walk all day. And so there was that battle going on through my head too, which leads me to one of our kata, which is a form. It's a set of movements that are strung together, and one of our kata is called san chin. So san means 3 and chin means battle. And so that kata talks about the battle between the ears, the battle with our physical body, and then the battle with some of our outside realm, right? And so in that case, I had san chin with what was going on through my head, because I've always wanted to go to Spain, and here I am in the hospital and looking, you know, searching. It was rural Spain, so finding crutches was quite the adventure, and proper shoes that would fit over my cast. You know, I'm doing battle with my body, but am I really doing battle with my body? And would that serve me if I start to do battle with my body, right? So how can I move or shift that. And then it's like battle with the outside world. I'm not going to sugarcoat things. There were definitely times where I shouted and pouted about my ankle, and I was really frustrated. And fortunately, the people that were around me were very generous and gracious, and they said, sure, you have every right to be upset. So go be upset, and when you're upset, done being upset, we'll help you. So that was, it was really neat. So that was one way where I could practice karate without ever throwing a punch, was fall down 7, get up 8. You know, just because I have this knowledge of corrective exercise doesn't mean I'm exempt. And the Sanshin, you know, and I do want to say one more thing about Sanshin is it's amazing. It's a set of movements, and it involves synchronizing the movements with the breath. So even with a sprained ankle, I was able to synchronize my movement, you know, with my arms, and you know, just breathing in and pulling that arm in and pushing it out, and just, you know, just calming deep breaths and centering. And that was how I was able to just be there with grace and poise, you know, coupled with a little bit of shouting and pouting.
Wow, that's great. You just took me to my karate life for a bit. And you got me back. Sanchin is a very good kata. It's a breathing kata, and it's one of the favorite kata which comes in the style that you practice, which is Goju Ryu. Good, excellent.
Yeah.
Great. So here's one of my questions. When you get onto the stage as a motivational speaker, now let's keep the karate away. Let's keep everything, your medicine and all your qualification, etc. Now you are a motivational speaker. When you get onto the stage, what are the topics that you speak about? Because motivation could be any topic. What is your favorite topic other than medicine, other than karate? What do you speak?
So what I speak is application, right? So I discuss education without application is education. If you have education and you have application, you build that bridge. And so we discuss sports medicine, we discuss karate, but I also speak a lot about nutrition and the motivation behind nutrition. And then I also discuss about, like I said, the motivation, what drives people, what ignites your light. You know, some people, many groups that I speak to, many people who I go in and do these talks to, maybe their light isn't as big and burning like a bonfire. It's a pilot light. So I talk to them about, okay, what's keeping your pilot light on, and what's going to ignite it so it becomes sort of a bonfire, right? To reach down, grab in, and where is your why? I also discuss, I have a little bit of a curveball. I do have a master's degree in psychology. And so one of the things we discuss is also avoiding burnout. We discuss stress management. We discuss time management, right? And so these are all like compartmentalized topics, but in those topics, we talk about, okay, if time management is a struggle, how are we using our time? What ignites your light, and how do you spend your time? Just like maybe a financial advisor would come in, you know, if someone's going through financial troubles, you do a financial inventory. And then where your money is going seems to be where those priorities are going. So the same thing. If there's time management struggles or stress, you know, it's like, how do you manage stress? Well, it's like, well, how do you manage water? You know, it flows and it's fluid. So what is stress to you? Okay. And where is your energy going? And where is your time being spent? And is this how you would like to spend your time? And if not, how would you like to spend your time? And then we talk about barriers and removing those barriers, and again, creating goals that are trackable and that you're very passionate about to move forward, so that all of a sudden I'm spending time in areas that really just light my fire.
Wow.
Thank you.
Shay, before we wind up, what are the 3 questions that you would like our audience to ask themselves so that could help them to grow and excel?
So the first one would be, that's a great question. But the first one would be, is what is the best version of yourself? right? So that's a good one. The other one is, well, what ignites your light? What turns you on, right? So that would be 2. And the 3 is, what are your barriers, right? So that's another way of saying what's stopping you. So what's stopping you is what's stopping you, that direct, what's stopping you. But another way to approach it is, what are some barriers? What are some things that are creating a situation where you're pulling back, and how can you lean in? You know, what are some things that you can do to lean in versus pull back? Yeah.
Wow. Shay, it was a pleasure and honor to speak to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Similarly. Yeah, very thought-provoking.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Shay Vasudeva.